We do weird things to fit in. We buy the new Nikes, cave to the kombucha, even try goat yoga. Fads come and go all the time. But what happens when these passing fads don't pass, and they bleed into our cultural definitions instead? How can acting on a fad become destructive, empty your bank account, or negatively impact your health? Does it all really come down to meeting an arbitrary beauty standard or status symbol that exists only in our heads?
Then my hair ended up falling because my mom was like, no, you're not going to be perming your hair because you're 9 and you need to wait. And for me, it was kind of like an accomplishment if I were to perm my hair, or only then that I'll feel like I was pretty enough.
That's Widline Pyrame, the founder of Fusion Dolls, a company creating diverse and ethically correct toy dolls. Since she was a child, Widline has given in to fads and lost sight of who she is. But today, she is changing that, not just for herself, but for girls, boys, women, and men everywhere. Building a business requires connection, but before we can connect with those around us, we first have to connect with and accept ourselves. There are always exciting things happening in the world of small business. The news that grabs the headlines, though, are always the highlights, the overnight successes, the billion-dollar IPOs, the massive exits. But just like your Instagram feed, that's never the whole story. Let's look deeper than the headlines and the press photos. Underneath all of that is the real work building something valuable and lasting. Don't get me wrong, I love crazy success stories and can be drawn into those big flashy tales just as much as the next person. But we all know that what's more important than the destination is how you get there. It's the struggles you have to overcome and the insights you learn along the way that make you who you are. So those are the stories we're telling. It's raw, it's honest, and maybe it's exactly what you need to hear. I'm Hillary Georgie, and this is The Journey. Widline grew up in Haiti with 6 siblings in a busy house full of extended family, cousins, and family friends. They played together day and night, but often what they had to play with was less than ideal.
I always loved dolls ever since, I was younger. We didn't have dolls that really looked like us. And I remember my uncle who lived here in America, he came and brought us a doll, like the first black doll. And me and my sister were so amazed. And we didn't want to have the doll get dirty. We were like holding her like, she was the queen. We'll open the box, we'll play with her and then make sure that she's good because we don't want anything happen to her. The only different thing about the doll was her hair was straight. So I remember me perming my hair because I just really wanted my hair to be straight. It wasn't until now that I'm a social worker that I realized, there's a lot of identity issues and also self-esteem issues that I was going through.
Every young person faces insecurities, but for Widline, it went beyond insecurity and turned into a deep identity crisis. The entire world was set up to promote beauty standards she could never meet, and it caused her to question every glance she took in the mirror. In 2000, Widline's dad left Haiti to move to the US to seek a new life for himself and his family. 2 years later, Widline and one of her sisters joined him. Oddly enough, it wasn't until this massive life shift that Widline began to feel more comfortable with who she was and where she came from.
When I moved here, it was kind of like a mixed feelings because I was excited, but I was also sad because I wasn't going to live with my mom anymore because my mom is such an important person in my life and she's like the nurturer. So now I was going to be living with my stepmom and my dad. And so it was definitely hard. So even with just thinking about the language, I remember when I was in high school, the first day we got there, like everything was kind of culture shock because back in Haiti, I didn't wear pants. I only wear skirts. So when I walked in school, everybody was wearing pants and me and my sister had our long skirts on. It was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And so it was a culture shock. The first time when I realized that I can understand English was when I could hear what's happening in the intercom because it's always like a big noise. But now when I could hear it, I was like, okay.
Adjusting to the new language and customs was hard, but it became a little easier every day. Widline began to settle into her new life. She knew so many weren't as lucky as her, and so she tried her best to stay true to her roots and make the best of her situation.
For me to be able to be here, I'm really grateful. So I always try my best to do everything that I can to be able to give back to my country, because like a lot of people want to be at my shoes and that they're not. And then if I have the opportunity to be here, I have to do everything that I have to do to make it work, and then trying to give back to the next generation.
As she got older, she began to identify all the feelings she had internalized for so long. Inspired by her experiences and eager to learn more so she could help others, she enrolled in school at Salem State University in Massachusetts and studied psychology. After that, she went on to grad school for social work, and it was there that inspiration struck.
I was watching the video. It's like an experiment about the dolls. And so the doll experiment where they show the black dolls and the white dolls, and all the black kids were saying that the black dolls were ugly. And then the white kids were saying the same thing. And when they say which one looked like you, and all of them really went to the doll that looked like them. And it kind of hurt me a lot in my heart. And it also brought me back. And I'm like, you know what? This is crazy. We need to do something about it. And I know, like, that was in 2015. I'm like, I need to do something about this. And I knew I wanted to do something related to dolls where I can empower kids to love who they are.
As she began her career as a social worker, she also began planning the next steps for her soon-to-be company.
I wake up and it's there, like, I need to do something. And I remember I was just finishing with getting my license. I'm like, okay, I need to do something. So I went to social work school. I got my license. I'm like, okay, the next step, I know I wanted to do something more. And it's still connected, you know? So then I started taking classes, and I took a course there. It was a 10-week course where they teach us about, business planning and things like that. And then Center for Women Enterprise, they have classes, and I took classes there. And then for a while, it was just an idea. And I'm like, okay, we need to look for a manufacturer. So I went online and I looked for somebody. But because, when you're first starting, you always need capital. And then not a lot of us are born with money like that. So I was still living in my basement apartment. I still needed to pay everything that I need to pay before I can go and invest on infusion dolls. But like, I started really small, okay? I started small. The first order I had was 30 dolls. And, we trying the market. So I had 30 dolls, and I told my friends, my family, they were really my first people that got my dolls. And they went so quickly that I'm like, okay, yeah, doesn't need. And then I went and ordered more. And then one of my biggest orders was like 500 that I had to do for Christmas. And like all my dolls were gone. So, and then obviously you can see that there's a need in the market.
Those initial sales were encouraging, but the in-person feedback was even more of a boost.
I went to the We Buy Black convention, and last year in Atlanta, this little girl came in my vendor booth, and she took my doll and ran without paying. So and then her father had to come back to pay for the doll. Like, the kids, when they see the dolls, they see themselves. And I have another experience at the black market in Boston, where this little girl ran to my table and then grabbed her mom. Like, her mom was busy trying to maybe get jewelry, grab her mom and says, Mommy, I love all of them. I even had moms that come up to me, okay, I really like this doll. I didn't have this when I was younger, and I'm gonna get it now. I even had people that wanted to invest at an early stage, but because I was so new, I wanted to learn more about what I was doing before I can go and take on investors.
The product was great. It was exactly what Widline and the world needed. But making the full leap into business isn't easy, even if there is product market fit. After the break, Widline shares some of the technical sides of her business, including getting capital and finding manufacturers. Plus, she discusses why diversity and representation matter in everything that we do.
It takes a lot to grow a business, but one thing's for certain. You've got to have a laser focus on the customer. That's why we use Salesforce Essentials at Mission every day. With Essentials, your small business has access to the same CRM tools driving results for some of the most successful companies on earth. Think Adidas, Amazon, T-Mobile, Toyota, Intuit, Marriott, and tens of thousands more. Track your business health by measuring sales, emails, customer satisfaction, and custom metrics. Go to getessentials.com/thejourney to start your free 90-day trial today.
Until recently, Widline was operating Fusion dolls as her side hustle. It wasn't until earlier this year that she, like many of us, had more time to commit to this pursuit.
I heard somebody had said that for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a little bit crazy because you have your idea and you're going to have people that don't believe in it, but you're still going to keep going because you believe in it enough to keep going. So I used to work full time as a social worker. Right now, during COVID, I got laid off. So this is like an opportunity for me to really work 110% in my business. So I work more than when I used to have a full-time job and have Fusion doll on the side.
Widline's product and vision are coming together, but her problem isn't a lack of hunger for what she has to offer. It's a lack of capital to meet that demand.
So starting a business is definitely difficult, but with not having the capital is even harder. As a social worker, I'm very resourceful, so I stay and alert of like different things that's happening. If there's a pitch competition, I'll learn about it and then I'll participate. And then for me, it wasn't only about, gaining funds, it's also about learning. So I use my network really wisely to stay connected and be able to keep on learning and then reaching more people, because I really believe everything is really about connecting with the right people. You have to keep on putting yourself out there, even though it might be uncomfortable, but people need to hear your story. People need to hear about what you go through to really be connected to what you have to offer.
Widline has been leveraging pitch competitions as a way to build out her network, as well as to generate some much-needed cash to help fund the creation of the dolls. But capital isn't the only thing you need for creation. You need an actual place to create the product, and over the last several months, Widline has been facing trouble with her manufacturers who produce the dolls.
It was stressful, to tell you the truth. When you already have somebody that you're working with, you already build that relationship, and then after that, they let you down. It was hard to really find somebody else to start doing what you already had planned on working on. But I'm grateful that I already had talked to this manufacturer in the past. So when I reached out to them, they already knew who I was. They were still okay to work with me.
Lack of capital and volatile manufacturers are expected road bumps on the entrepreneurial journey. And Widline certainly hasn't let them slow her down. She knows her mission is bigger than herself, and that keeps her motivated every day.
Don't wait for everything to be perfect for you to start. If you wait for that to happen, it might never happen. So that's one advice that really stay with me. Another one is not to compare yourself to others. It's easy for us to compare each other, especially right now where everything is online, social media and everything else. But people never show things that they're struggling with. If you're comparing yourself, you're going to miss out on what God has for you, what's the path that He laid out for you. So I really believe it's important to focus on your goals and then do it one step at a time.
And one of Widline's goals is to help give back to her community. Even with a work-in-progress financial structure and limited inventory, Widline is creating a profit buffer large enough so that she can eat the cost of donating as many dolls as she can to local organizations and struggling parents. Fusion Dolls is her purpose, and that mission has brought her closer to herself as well as closer to those around her.
When I left my house, it was hard. Like I used to see my mom every day. I used to go see my niece every day because it was difficult for me. But once I started with Fusion Dolls, that's all I talk about. This is all I do. I'll be wearing my shirt and I talk to anyone wants to listen about what I do, because I really believe this is one of my purpose here. Because if somebody don't really believe in themselves, there's certain things that they're never going to be able to do. And I think it's really important to do this at an early age. And not only for our kids to be able to have those that look like them, but also for us to be able to just keep on spreading the diversity awareness. I really believe it's important more than ever for us to keep on preaching that and about one representation, and also to be aware about what's going on. I believe that this is definitely my mission, to keep on spreading about diversity and spreading self-love, because believe it or not, we are more alike than a lot of people think. And then it's like, we need to keep on embracing each other and then also keep on learning about each other's differences. It's really important to teach our kids at a younger age, one, about self-love, and then keep on engraving, our differences, and then, keep on pushing, because I think that's the only way for us to be able to move forward, because divided, we are not going to be able to make it. It's like united, we're going to be able to stand.
United we stand, divided we fall is a phrase that countless leaders have used for nearly 3,000 years to drum up support for a common cause. Unfortunately, the true depth of this message is often lost. This isn't just a one-liner that sounds good. It's a call to action to appreciate our differences and come together because of them, not despite of them. From facing a destructive beauty standard and finding self-love to spreading that love so others can feel comfortable and empowered in their own skin. Widline's mission is to unite people with themselves first so that they might be able to connect better with others later. Because connection builds community, and communities create change. And it's the smallest changes that sometimes leave the most lasting impacts.
Succeeding as a startup, solo founder, or any small business is an uphill battle. It takes the right mindset and the right tools. That's why we're thrilled to partner with Salesforce Essentials to bring you the journey. Managing one podcast, let alone a whole media studio, is a challenge to say the least. But Essentials makes it easy to maintain relationships and grow our business. With Essentials, your startup has access to the same CRM driving insights and results for the most successful companies in the world. Use unrivaled Salesforce technology to track customers, sales, emails, and more. You'll know where your business is and where it's headed as you chart the path for your journey. We love using Essentials, and we know you will too. Go to getessentials.com/thejourney to start your free 90-day trial today.